Hello everybody, this is a first for me, but before I start I'd like to say thank you for the JDS&E Committee of Devon and Cornwall for organising this, for Mike Bond who's doing the photography, and to Wayne Grucock who has let us use his church because it's the only COVID friendly building we can find. So I'm going to do your Christmas arrangement without foam because you might not have any while you're at home, and it's a glass bowl. It's actually a fruit bowl. Because I'm using wire mesh, I'm going to use the bronze net biodegradable mesh. And if you put this into glass, when you add the water, it rusts and it marks the bottom of your glass. So what I've done is I've cut a disc of cellophane, slit it slightly so that it will just sit neatly in there. Because I don't want to risk it going off, I'm just going to put a couple of bits of sellotape on the edge just to stop it moving. This is something I couldn't do in advance for various reasons. So that's then gone in and hopefully it won't move and you won't see it either. So the bronze net mesh, I have just crumpled it together. You could use chicken wire, but I don't like using it with my hands, or any of the decorative wires would work just as well. So I need it to come above the level of the rim because I'm going to slide different materials through. So these are tinting. This is all last year's because of course I haven't been able to go to the supermarkets to get anything. So this is just tinting. This was originally 5 foot long and is now, as you can see, it's lucky if it's a foot. So this is some of this, and being careful not to do it like the spokes of a wheel because otherwise you'll have a great glunk in the middle which won't work. So I'm just sliding it through like so. So in some in parallel lines, some going straight. And the end of it was all twirly. So I want to use that. So again, I'm just going to go through and hopefully it will stick up. So let's just go with some more of these bits going across so that this will just form a platform for the flowers. Now before I go any further, I also want, because it's Christmas, I'm putting some baubles and I want 1 or 2 to go inside so that when you look at it, you've actually got them sort of showing up through. So that one's slightly higher so that they're not on the same plane. So coming through, and then when I put this one through, hopefully it will stop it wobbling. Come on. It's always easy when you practice, isn't it? And then when you go to the real thing, you think, oh heck, why did I start this? But we're all right. It's all going in. So you can see, I will tip it up in a moment and you'll be able to see how it's gone through. Just coming through like so. This is actually very economic design to do, and yes, I'm doing it for Christmas, but you could just as easily do this for the spring and actually also incorporate bulbs, having so that they're almost growing into the bowl, and that would look beautiful just as an extra alternative. I don't ever like things which are just suitable for one moment. So if you see, it's just able to create that grid. That bit I can hook over there now. So just putting these pieces going through. Making sure that all the ends don't go in the same direction because you don't want all the cut end bits on one side. So I've got to make sure I have some pieces of the more delicate material. This is birch, which has been whitened, again left over from last year. So I've literally gone through my Christmas boxes, as we all do, because we're flower rangers and we keep this stuff forever, don't we? So that's what we expect to do, and that's what I carry on doing. So just putting these in. I like the movement. You see, I've got some nice enclosed spaces here, which just helps it on its way. So just coming across like so. These were originally red, and I don't mind because I'm using the fact that it's worn out. Doesn't matter because I'm using red baubles, and presently I shall stick some red flowers in as well. It's a bit surplus to requirements. There's a little bit more here. Got a piece going across like so. Then I'm using larch. I love larch because they're on the stem, so I just pick these up. I walk a lot, and I've always got a bag in my pockets. So these are just going to slot across. Now that one's quite heavy, isn't that beautiful? So I'm just resting it over the top. That's fine. It can just rest somewhere on the top, going across. So because it's not moving anywhere, so it's not as if this is one that's got to go and be transported. So I'm just putting some of these going across. I just think they're wonderful. Love larch. If you want, I want to put it out here. So all I need to do is just take a short piece of decorative wire. Just take a short piece of decorative wire. If you're using your scissors to cut, make sure you use the ratchety bits at the end so that you don't damage the blades. And just go across here and just wire on. So just wrap that around like so. So I can have some pieces coming over the edge. This piece I fixed on earlier, so I can again just wrap that round. So I've got some of the larch cones finer coming out at the other end, because I don't want the middle to be too heavy, which is not part of it. They're coming out here. Again, don't sort of worry if you're using wires. I always find it's better to cut a longer piece than you need rather than trying to use a tiny bit that then my hands are, oh, that bit just came apart. Because my hands have got more arthritic, you then find you can't actually manoeuvre them and manipulate them in quite the same way. So sometimes it's better to use a longer piece and then cut it off. I just find it simpler. So a piece coming out here, because that's quite a nice section. Like so. So I have just got that so you can look down on it. Well, you would if I just wedged that piece in. Might need a bit of wire there. That's all right. Okay. So, I've got baubles. I have fixed these onto wires. I will show you, and then they will just slot in. I'll show you how I've done them because it's useful to know. So I've just got 2 pieces of wire. And then take a further piece. And then where you've got the sections either side of the hanging bit, go one side, one on the other side, on the other side, like so. Go in. I just want to go in. Isn't that just typical? Go one side, one the other side, and then take the third piece, go through the loop and wrap round the other piece. And that will then fix on. And then you can have them just slotting in so that you can lengthen them. Like so. And there's a taller one again. See, I don't necessarily want it all high in the middle and coming down elsewhere. If it wobbles, don't panic because we're going to wedge it in a minute with other materials. I prefer that one. So for foliage, I've got an assortment of conifers. Now I have to say, this one smells delicious, but I don't know which it is because I actually got it from the churchyard. Sorry. So I'm just going to have this quite short, clean stem ends and go in through the wires And this will help to just wedge. I actually don't want it as long as that. I want this all quite short. Go in. And this will help to wedge the other materials in position. So I like this one because it's got that lovely blue tone to it. Again, make sure you've got clean stem ends because you're going to be putting water in here. So if you haven't got clean stem ends, you'll find you've got skanky water, which is disgusting. Nobody wants that. So just bringing it round like so. I think when it's Christmas and you start using seasonal foliages, it's the perfume that they give off, and that's all part of Christmas. I've even been known to sprinkle things with cinnamon dust, just so that I've got that smell, because I just think it's yummy. And I just liked to know that it's Christmas is coming. I think this year particularly, we're all a bit desperate for a bit of light-heartedness, a little bit of joy. So we hope we'll get there. So just putting some of those in. And then I've also got some skimmia. Now I've got some skimmia which we're more familiar with, which is the Japonica reevesiana, which has the berries. And then because the leaves are a little bit big on that one, I've also picked some of the rubella, which is the male, these have the flowers, fabulous perfume, but smaller leaves, which is what I want. So I can pop some of these in here, and that's the perfect floret size to go in here. So they will just fill in. Whereas I do want some berries, so I know it seems a bit wicked. I'm taking the leaves off because I want the berries and I don't want those big leaves. Putting this in and around. I'm tending to do this one actually from the top, so that's why I'm not turning it a great deal, so that it's just, I need that to be wedged a bit, because she's toppling over. All my plant material is she. The only time I have he's is just before I dig things out, so if something, it's not doing very well, it becomes a he. In no uncertain terms, so it's a bit naughty of me, I know, but it's what I do. That's how I like it. So usually I use a knife, but these are quite thick stems and I don't want to make life hard for myself. Right, so that's putting some of the red, so it's a lovely vibrant red to contrast with the greens. And then ouch, it's prickly. I've got some flowers and I found some rather beautiful roses which I just thought they were fabulous together. So these were from the local veg shop, oddly enough, because I haven't been to the supermarkets. So I was just dead lucky they were just in there. And hopefully you can see I'm just having them resting. So I bought them earlier in the week so that they are out. I want them to be as full. I want a full, sort of almost like a little cabbage rose, so you can see. And I just thought with the I'll get there in a minute. With the baubles. Sorry, name just went. After all of this, so those of us who are getting slightly concerned that we are actually beginning to sound a bit like our mothers when they're in their dotage. So you can see I'm just putting those in around. So I don't want to overfill this because I actually quite like the space that I've created. But I did pick to take some of the red. Now bearing in mind the water is going to be in here, so in order to get some red out to the edges, I picked something. I didn't normally pick this, but it's rather a fabulous ruscus. This is commonly called butcher's broom, and they are just fabulous. And it's a ruscus, I actually had to write it down, aculeatus.
or as I say, commonly called butcher's broom, which will just slot in, might need a bit shorter, and bring me some of this fabulous red out to the edges. Like so. It's an interesting plant. You often see it growing in the wild, and it doesn't have, these aren't leaves, they're what's called cladodes, and they have a little white flower in the middle, and then when the white flower goes, the berry is formed in the middle of the cladodes, so they look really quite weird, but I just think they're fascinating. And I like growing things that are a little bit different. So that's coming out there. So it's curving into, ouch, it's vicious, I tell you. You don't want to be coming down the path. This is near the path, unfortunately. I didn't plant it in the right place. As we are aware, you have to be careful not to plant things prickly too close to the boundary. So there we are. We've got that. Could have done with a bit more red coming out here. So I'm just going to quickly, but what I can do is, I can actually, because I want some red over this side, I can put a bit of one of the baubles coming out here, sort of for some variety. So we've got that coming around like so. Thank you.